All right, moving over to the welterweight division now. We got Chris Curtis coming in at plus 225, going up against Miktaibek Orolbai, who comes in at minus 265. Now, starting off on the Chris Curtis side of things here, he snapped a 2-fight losing streak last time around as he picked up a split decision win over Max Griffin. Now, I thought that round one was clear for Griffin. He was sticking and moving, and that's kind of the best blueprint to beat a guy like Curtis, similar to what Jack Hermansson was able to do against Curtis. Land your combinations, get on your bicycle. Land your combinations, get on your bicycle, because Chris Curtis needs to, slow his opponents down, get into the pocket, let go with his combinations, and that's where his power usually pays off for him. But he was having trouble in that first round to track Griffin down, but obviously that style is very hard for a guy like Griffin to keep up, hence why we saw him start to slow down in the second and third rounds, and as we started to get into deeper water, Curtis was more and more successful in that matchup. So he was able to get the decision win there. I thought it was unanimous. I thought he should have won no matter what. Rounds 2 and 3, it should have been an easy fight for the judges to score, but it seems like that where the momentum started to shift was kind of playing into the one of the judges' eyes, which is why they ended up giving that round to Griffin. Prior to that, he was coming off of a knockout loss to Roman Kopylov, which is now Chris Curtis's lone knockout loss on his record. He's had 12 losses, never been knocked out until Roman Kopylov was able to land that nasty head kick in the dying seconds of that fight, and the referee ended up calling off the fight with 1 second left on the clock. Now, obviously, there was some uproar regarding it. Maybe the referee or the coaches thinking that Curtis would have won that fight, should have hit the scorecards, but I believe it was a clear 2-1 for Kopylov. I believe it was 2-1 off the top of my head, but regardless, Kopylov would have won that fight even if it ended up hitting the scorecards. And then the Brendan Allen fight, Curtis just couldn't get to his game enough through those 25 minutes, and he ended up losing that fight on the scorecards. Going back to the Max Griffin fight, the one good thing about Curtis in that matchup was the fact that he went back down to 170 pounds. Now, if you guys remember, I think it was 2020 when Chris Curtis made his UFC debut. It was on short notice. It was up a weight class, I believe at middleweight. He used to fight at 170 primarily the entire time, but he took that opportunity at 185 pounds, pulled off that upset win, I believe, over Phil Hawes, and he just stuck at middleweight. But it was very mediocre for him, right? He had a bit of a winning streak until I believe he ran into Jack Hermansson, was the one that snapped the winning streak for him. And I think he ended up going 5-4 in the middleweight division in the UFC. Now going down to welterweight, where he should have been this entire time, might be a little too late, right? He's 38 years old. Could really start to hinder his performances, having to cut the weight, and then obviously having to fight better and better competition at this weight class. But at his best, combination striker, nasty power when he can connect cleanly, has good defense, very tough to put away, and his defensive grappling is often held up, allowing him to keep fights in the striking game. Then it's just on him to try to put the output together to try to distance himself from his opponents. He's going up against Miktaibek Orolbai, who's coming off of a nasty knockout win over Jack Hermansson last time around, and that also allowed him to build upon that submission win he had over Tofik Musayev. Orolbai is absolutely nasty. From his smothering grappling approach to the thudding shots that he lands in the striking game, he really wants to dictate the pace of all the fights that he's in so he can work opponents down and either finish them, submit them, or even just win a dominant win on the scorecards like he did against Elvis Brenner. That Brenner fight, he nearly finished him numerous times in that fight. Brenner's durability, absolutely off the chain, but Orolbai put it on him. Even the Mateusz Rombeski fight, close back and forth fight. Rebecki just grinded that one out by landing a little bit more damage, but that was a contender of fight of the year when that fight went down. So absolutely crazy fight there. But this 28-year-old is really coming into his own in the UFC. He has a very winnable style, a very reliable style. He doesn't often get onto his back foot. He's often the one moving forward, looking to get respect from his opponents. I'd like to see him tighten up his striking a little bit more. Like, he throws with a lot of power, don't get me wrong, but when he fights technically superior strikers, that's where things could start to go haywire, especially if he can't get them to the ground and really control them there. So that's where my hesitancy with him lies, specifically in this matchup against a very good striker in Chris Curtis. Now, I'm expecting the defense of Curtis to help him make this fight entertaining. And that kind of sounds redundant, right? Like, if the guy's only defensive, how can it be entertaining? I think it more so from like the defensive grappling realm, where I don't think Orolbai will be able to accrue a ton of control time. I think he'll be able to land a takedown or two, but I'd kind of be surprised if he can accrue more than 3 minutes of control time over the 15 minutes, should it go 15 minutes. And then the striking, I think Orolbai will be the one with the pressure, with the aggression, with the output. And I think we'll see Curtis eat some shots. We'll see him roll with some shots. He'll try to crack back when he can, but that will engage some pocket exchanges where Curtis could have some success. You know, it's possible Curtis could land a counter that puts Orolbai's lights out. It's absolutely possible. I'd say Curtis is the better striker, but I think just the aggression and the overall game from Orolbai should lead him to winning this fight on the scorecards, especially if he can stay high with his output and activity, and I think that's going to cause Curtis some issues here. But not so much to the point where I want to play Orolbai at minus 265. Curtis is live for an upset. Absolutely. Again, the better striker, good durability, good defense. We'll see if he can outlast Orolbai here and land some big shots in the deeper water. Maybe Curtis round 3 KO could be a good hedge, but I think Orolbai still gets the win here. I think he wins by decision, but I would think twice about this level of chalk against a veteran like Chris Curtis.